Hello, MCU fans! Today's going to be my breakdown of Spider-Man 94, issue number 3. Of course, this is a 5-issue limited series continuing Spider-Man the Animated Series from the 90s. So, there will be spoilers for the comic, but as long as you're okay with that, then let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have a November contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment, you could win a book or a steelbook. And because we hit 30K subscribers, I'll be awarding 5 winners this month. Best of luck. And we have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out. Plus, hang around to the end of the video and I'll talk about the What If Pitch contest on the Discord. Alright, so this is a breakdown of Spider-Man issue number 3, and first let's look at the variant covers for the comic. So we have this one, which is continuing the theme of, action figures as though we were buying them back in the 90s. I love that. This is a great cover from Eric Larson of Spider-Man vs. his Rogues Galleries. And then we get this one with Venom and Carnage. Really, really cool. I love all these alternate covers. Okay, so we get a quick synopsis of last issue. After Kaine's first failed attempt to bring in Spider-Man, Morlun took things into his own hands and gave Peter one of the greatest beatdowns of his entire life. All right, so let's start with the big reveal from last issue, which is that Kraven is waiting for the right moment to strike. We see the Sims Foundation in New York City, and we get a loud roar from his lion, and then he says, "Quiet, Goliadkin." I'm hoping I pronounced that right. We don't want to reveal ourselves just yet. And in fact, his lion was given that name first in Spectacular Spider-Man 253, so very comic accurate, same name for his lion. But indeed, he's looking over the Sims building and saying, "But soon, my friend, soon." And we get the title for issue number 3, which is Totems. And next, let's talk about the other big reveal from issue number 2, and that was that Aunt May knows his secret identity. Oh my word. She says, "He's my nephew. We've lived side by side under this roof all these years. How could I not know? I may be an old woman, Mary Jane, but I'm no fool." Really good point, right? She says, "Oh, it took some time to admit it to myself. It was easier to live in denial, but..." And Mary Jane says, "You were never tempted to tell him?" And she says, "And add to his burden?" "No, I'd never do that to him." And MJ agrees it is an incredible burden, maybe too much for one man. And May says, "True, but that doesn't make a difference to our Peter. You know how he is. He'll take the whole world on his shoulders, then ask to carry more." But it's hard, isn't it? Living with the secret, knowing you could lose him at any moment, wondering if what he's doing is worth the risk and pain. "Sometimes I do wonder," says MJ, "but I love him, May, so very much. And think how difficult Peter's life, Spider-Man's life, would be without me. No, without us. He's always watching out for the world," says May. "That's why the two of us have got to be here to watch out for him." All right, so now we shift over to Morlun as we learn his origin. He explains, long before recorded time, great races descended from the heavens, rose up from the seas, flew through the air, filling the world with wonders and terrors beyond imagining. Great civilizations lost to the memory of mankind, rose and fell over the course of hundreds of thousands of years. All right, so I thought this was really cool. You probably recognize several of these characters. I mean, there's Arishem the Celestial, Icarus, the leader of the Eternals. That's got to be Thena, right? I'm pretty sure that's Makari, and this might be Druig. Little hard to tell. But okay, very, very cool. So he's going all the way back to the origin of the Celestials, to the beginning of time, basically. Then he says, "And among them, among these worlds, was my home, the majestic kingdom called Loka." All right, so obviously they're going with a very, very different origin of Morlun than we saw in the comics. He says, "I was Prince Morlun, the child of a foolish king who died too young, raised by a mother far stronger and wiser than her moldering husband." He says, "She expected me to take the throne one day, claim it as my own, restore Loka to past glories. But much to my mother's dismay, I rejected what I perceived as a boring, sedentary existence of a royal and instead embraced the life of adventure and exploration. But I returned home when the kingdom of my birth was invaded by an army of mysterious hybrid creatures, leading Loka's military against this invading horde. These creatures, these totems..." Interesting, there's our word. "These totems, as I've come to call them, had been among us hidden in the shadow for centuries, part human, part beast. The totems carried the legacy of each species. a living bridge between both worlds. And during that fateful battle, I discovered that I had a strange connection to these beings, that their life force could feed my own, transforming me, granting me extraordinary abilities, extending my lifespan by years, decades, millennia. Had some progenitor of mine, I wondered, been one of these beasts? Was I some mutant born with the ability to devour their souls? I've never learned the answer. And perhaps that's best. Life, in the end, is an unfathomable mystery. We either embrace it or we go mad. So, the invaders were repelled, so time, as it inevitably does, swept forward. Loka fell, new civilizations rose from the ashes of the old, and I lived on, crossing continents and cultures, always seeking the totems that, like me, survived the wars, the plagues, the natural disasters that seemed to forever haunt humanity. Always feeding on them, adding to my power, but it was a long and wearying game, and time and again I needed to retreat, renew myself, entering a kind of stasis. Well, that makes sense, right? We've been seeing him doing that throughout the comic, right? A stasis within a cocoon of my own weaving, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for decades, and each time I emerged and I began the game anew. But then, like all of us, he wanted to know what was his purpose, right? Why? Why am I here upon this earth? Why has this immortal weight been placed on my shoulders? Of course, no divine creator manifested to answer me, but an answer came nonetheless. I had a vision of a new world that fused the greatest achievements of the long-lost empires of my youth with the marvels of the modern age. And so, in London 200 years ago, the first seeds of the Sims Foundation were sown. I would inspire humanity, lift them out of the mud, lead them toward a higher destiny. I began this journey of global reclamation as Englishman Gabriel Sims, hiding the truth of my immortality by becoming, in turn, Gabriel's sons and grandsons and great-grandsons, playing the part of both ancestor and heir. And now today I am Ezekiel Sims. My empire, far greater than Loka's, encompasses the entire world. Okay, so this idea of being, your son, your grandson, your great-grandson, where have we seen that before? That would be Kingo himself. Isn't that funny? So who came up with the idea first? Kingo or Ezekiel? I want to know. Anyway, I, Ezekiel, I, Morlun, am dying, burning through the life energies of my victims at an accelerated rate. And soon, very soon, those energies won't be enough to sustain me. But how can I leave this world before I've freed it from sin, before I've raised it to glory? That, my friend, is where you come in. For you, I've discovered, are a new kind of totem for a new age, and feasting upon your unique soul will grant me another 100 years of life. 100 years to bring my vision to fruition, and for that, I will remain forever indebted to you, Spider-Man. I know the good you've done, the tragedies you've endured in the name of that good, and if there was another path forward, I would take it, but there isn't. I need what you have, what you are, in order to survive. Do you see now? Do you understand? How can I possibly measure your one life against the salvation of the world? Oh my goodness, does this guy have a God complex or what? Man, oh man, oh man. Anyway, Spider-Man's not too happy about this idea. It basically tells him, no, I'm not going to die for you. To which he says, I hoped you would understand. I hoped you would willingly give yourself to me. But what you won't surrender, I can easily take. So then Spider-Man is thinking to himself, when he attacked me, referring to last issue, I had no idea who Morlun was. And now I realize he may be the greatest threat I've ever faced. He brought me down without breaking a sweat. I'm so battered, in so much pain, I can't defend myself. And isn't that nasty? He's literally shooting this webbing out of his mouth. Yeek. That is really gross. Anyway, he says, I have foundation business to attend to for now, Spider, but I will return soon to begin the complex process of making your power my own. Because remember, he has an avatar of Ezekiel Sims. So he's got, to go off and do a little bit of company bureaucracy. Anyway, Spider-Man thinks to himself, the amazing Spider-Man, trapped in a web. It's almost funny, but I don't feel like laughing. But then Kaine shows up, kind of to rub some salt in the open wound. He says, so still, so vulnerable. What would my father do, I wonder, if I killed his precious spider totem? Then angrily he says, why are you so important? Why do you have such value that he needs you more than he needs his son, Kaine? He goes on saying, something about this spider confuses me and touches me in a way that I can neither fathom nor explain, as if he holds the key to my own origins. Keep that in mind, because I think I know what's going on with this dude, but hold on to that. Anyway, the gaps in my memory. What is it, Spider? Why do you... And then he has a memory. He remembers back in issue number 1 when he came busting through that window, to kidnap Peter Parker. And he says, a tsunami of thought, of feeling, just as I felt when I abducted him from the Parker house, which was issue number 1. But it's stronger now, as if all that he's done, all that he knows, all that he is within me. He adds, one feeling, one soul rises above the rest, the woman. How is this happening? Why is this happening? What are you, Spider? And more importantly, what am I? And then as we see Kaine leaves, because now we're going to see Spider-Man break free. And this is really, really cool. I love how they illustrated this in the comic. All right, so we see him sitting there trapped in the webbing. I guess that's webbing, right? And then he says, I can't just give up. I can't let Morlun win. After all that Mary Jane and I went through, to be together again. All we suffered, all we sacrificed. I can't let him win. And he breaks out of the webbing. I love that. That is so cool. In fact, I'm going to spin quickly through it because I just love how they illustrated this. So you see him there, and then he just gets angry and starts to rock back and forth, reaching his arms out slowly until he finally completely breaks free. Very, very cool. All right, he says it's about more than just us. Who knows what damage Morlun will do to the world in the name of some twisted vision of salvation, in the name of paradise. Well, Spider-Man may be free, but he's about to discover a new monstrosity. He says, okay, Parker, try to clear your head. Push through this pain. Figure out where you are. Morlun said he had foundation business to attend to, so maybe we're in the Sims building. And maybe this door will lead me to a way out. Or maybe not. Oh man, what is this nastiness, right? In fact, that's what Spider-Man's asking himself. He says it's as if Morlun's cobbled it together from the severed parts of a dozen men and animals. But why would he do that? It makes no sense, unless he's been creating his own synthetic totems as a way to prolong his own life. But then this thing breaks free, and he's like, easy, big fella, I don't mean you any... Well, this guy means him harm. Just smacks him upside the head. He grabs him by the leg, throttles him on the ground, and then poor Peter lays there saying, I'm so sorry, MJ. I just can't fight anymore. Speaking of MJ, turns out that Kaine, who of course left Spider-Man's side, has gone to her seeking answers. So we see her laying there in bed, and then she hears a creaking noise. Asks Peter, is that... No, it is not Peter. It's Kaine asking, why is this happening to me? And then he rips off his mask and said, why am I feeling these things? Okay, so look at that face and tell me if you think it's meant to be Peter or perhaps a clone of Peter. I mean, the same nose, the same eyebrows, the same facial structure. Is that why Kaine has all of his feelings and emotions? In particular, he asks, why do I love you? Well, again, if he's a clone of Spider-Man, that would certainly explain it. So let me know your thoughts on that. Is he a clone? And if so, why? And how? I mean, is this somehow tied back to Professor Warren and his cloning experiments back from the animated series? Well, anyway, back to poor Spider-Man. He's gotten his strength back. He says, I've faced Dr. Octopus, Venom, Hydra Man, Carnage, and lived to tell the tale. If I can just find the strength to get up, I'll beat this thing. But then, as it's roaring towards him, somebody comes jumping in the window, I'm sure you can guess who, right? Kraven the Hunter, and jabs the spear through this creature. Oh, wow. Not playing around. And in fact, yes, we see it is dead on the ground. And Spider-Man looks up astonished and says, "I don't believe it. Kraven!" And Kraven responds, "Indeed. And the time has come, Spider-Man." The final hunt ends. And as Spider-Man looks up going, wait, I thought you were here to help me. The spear goes jabbing down. And then Kraven finishes by saying, "Tonight." Oh man, what a cliffhanger, right? Now I'm hoping he jabbed that spear into the creature to make sure it's dead, but we'll have to wait for next issue to find out. In fact, next issue is titled Heart of the Hunter. Okay, so before we go, a quick refresher on the timeline. On the top, we're tracking X-Men the Animated Series. On the bottom is Spider-Man the Animated Series. And in the middle is anytime the two of them cross over. In the lower right-hand corner, we have Spider-Man 94, issues 1 through 5, which in previous videos, I've laid that out as being in June of 1997. Nothing in this issue made me think we've left June, so that's where we're at for now. And eventually that leads to the X-Men the Animated Series crossovers with, of course, the awesome appearance of Peter Parker and MJ in X-Men 97, Season 1, Episode 10. All right, so now we wait for issue number 4 to arrive, and it's coming on Christmas Eve. What on earth? So I'll try to do a breakdown that day, but that might be tough. If nothing else, it'll be within the next few days. And by the way, we do have the cover for issue number 5 as well. So let me know your thoughts on this series. Are you enjoying it? Do you like what they've done with Morlun? Obviously very different from in the comics. Let me know your thoughts because I read and respond to all of them. Plus, don't forget, November contest, be a subscriber, leave a comment, win a book or a steelbook, and there's the membership option in case you're interested in that. Plus, I mentioned I would talk about the What If Pitch contest on the Discord. Now, here's the rules, but they're really simple. Just join the Discord and either give us a title of your episode or give us a title and a brief synopsis. And then the deadline is Thursday, December 11th. Plus, we have the Doomsday Countdown Watch on the Discord. Every day listed here at 7 p.m. Eastern, we watch a different movie or show as we head towards the December 18, 2026 release of Doomsday. We have 2,500 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and I'll leave a pinned comment so you can join. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.